Welcome to King County Connects, a program where we connect you with the important issues in our region. I'm Enrique Cerna. Immigration is a hot-button topic these days. Seattle calls itself a sanctuary city, and King County services are available to anyone regardless of their immigration status. What does this mean for King County and organizations that assist immigrants? Are they becoming a bigger target for the Trump administration and its hardline stance on immigration? King County Council Chair Joe McDermott and Adrian Ortiz-Serrano, the Sensitive Location Project Manager for El Centro de la Raza, are here to talk about those issues and much more. Welcome, both of you. Good to have you here. Well, Joe McDermott, let's start with you. What is the county doing to assure immigrants that this is a place that they can feel comfortable because we are in a climate that has changed dramatically when it comes to immigration?
On the national level, there's real concern. And so the important thing that King County can do is remind everyone that we are a affirming, welcoming community, and we welcome the presence and participation of immigrants, refugees, and everyone in our communities.
So what are you doing outwardly to try to make sure that that message is getting across out there?
We've recently established the Immigrant and Refugee Commission, an ongoing group to help King County review and look at how we're interacting with the immigrant and refugee community to make sure we're doing so most appropriately and in the ways that are most helpful.
And what about the relationship with the sheriff's office and how immigrants have concern these days about whether they should be reporting or talking to police at all for fear that ICE might then be called?
I understand where the fear comes from, but it's King County policy, and the sheriff is very supportive of the policy that law enforcement, public health too for that matter, not make inquiries about someone's immigration status. That people should be safe contacting law enforcement, public health. In fact, we're all better if people are comfortable talking to their county government, their local government.
These are really uncertain, unpredictable times, aren't they? And I would imagine to some degree for county governments, it makes it a little sticky at times in dealing with the federal government.
I wouldn't say sticky. I think King County has been filled with firm resolve about how we wanted to respond to the national administration. The Trump administration is engaged in fear-mongering and bullying and intimidation, and King County stands firm in support of the immigrants and refugees in our community. Almost 1 in 4 King County residents is foreign-born. So it's not a small number of people that we're speaking out for and defending in King County.
Yeah. Adriana, your work, well, first let's talk about what is the work and what is sensitive location.
Okay, at El Centro de la Raza, I'm in charge of promoting sensitive locations in King County and Seattle. So sensitive locations are places where enforcement actions by immigration officials are restricted. Enforcement actions such as arrest, interviews, or surveillance. So these places are a strong tool to protect and support immigrants in these current times. The sensitive locations were declared in 2011 in an ICE policy. And El Centro de la Raza being aware that the community we serve are facing great risks with the current federal administration, we found that if we declare ourselves as a sensitive locations, the community will feel more secure and welcoming in our place. Through this process, we realized that potential sensitive locations and the community were not aware about this concept. So we found that it would be a great idea if we promote these places. So we came up with the idea of creating a common symbol to identify sensitive locations in King County and the city of Seattle. And we want that all potential sensitive locations that include schools, healthcare centers, places of worship, and public demonstrations adopt this symbol so that the community can identify them and they feel safe and welcome in these places.
Surprisingly, the King County Courthouse is not one of these places.
Surprisingly and disappointingly.
Yeah, how come?
Because the federal government hasn't stepped up and made that declaration. We would very much like people to feel safe in their courthouse, coming and going, whether it's to be a witness to a crime, report a crime, serve on a jury. There are any number of reasons people come to the courthouse, and they need to feel safe and secure in doing that. In fact, everyone in the community is safer and more secure when immigrants and refugees, people who might feel they could be victims of ICE here in the courthouse, are hesitant to come here.
Yeah. Well, is this a place, though, that could ICE come in and take somebody from,
It is,
from this?
it is not a federally designated sensitive location.
So it could happen.
So that is a real concern.
Right. So you mentioned El Centro and schools and some places of worship. How are you working together then, besides the symbol and to try to get the word out to those communities that probably wouldn't know? I didn't know about this, to be honest with you.
So right now we are providing informative sessions to potential sensitive locations. We want schools, healthcare centers, places of worship, and nonprofits, because some nonprofits provide this type of services, to join this initiative, to adopt the symbol so the community is aware of it, but also that potential sensitive locations adopt and start serving and providing other services for immigrants. And we think that in the long term, this symbol can become also a political statement if it is adopted broadly by many potential sensitive locations.
So you're outwardly trying to, I guess, get other and recruit other organizations to adopt this, to take the stand that they would be a sensitive location and it would be a place of safety.
Exactly, and through the informative sessions that we are holding, we want to clarify any doubts or questions potential sensitive locations may have, because it is still very unknown concept, and we're aware that a lot of questions can arise.
Yeah. So that way you want to be able to explain to them what's going
Exactly.
on.
And be visible.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Councilman, I want to refer here, I have in my hand, and I know you've seen this, it's from January of this year, a letter from the U.S. Department of Justice regarding document requests for subgrant under grant, and it has a whole bunch of numbers. A letter, not so nice letter from the Department of Justice. Can you tell me a bit more about that and the response from the county in dealing with this?
Yeah, the Justice Department has sent me at least 2 pieces of correspondence in the last year addressing our burn grants, a federal Department of Justice grant, and suggesting in those letters that we're not complying with federal law and threatening our burn grant funds. Well, it's ironic because we don't use our burn grant funds for anything that they could hold us accountable for under immigration code. But their question is whether or not we enforced U.S. Code 1373. And the answer is yes, we do. We do nothing to prohibit conversation between federal officials and local officials. And that's the question they keep asking, and we keep very firmly saying, no, we comply with federal code in every way possible.
And is this specifically about immigration status, or what is it?
Very much so,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So they're basically saying, they're challenging the county and really threatening you.
It is about bullying and intimidation, and it's not aimed at the county. It's aimed at the immigrant and refugee communities in King County and across the country, because most of the time they send me a letter, I don't get the letter in the mail first. I hear from the media because asking for me for a response, because they've sent the press release to the media before they've sent the letter to me. If they want to have a real conversation about immigration and federal law, send me a letter, call me up, come meet with me. But if you're sending press releases to the media, truly you're trying to stir up bullying and intimidation, fear in our communities.
So you see that as an act of threat and intimidation that's specifically aimed at scaring people?
Very much so, with false pretenses, because we comply with U.S. code, the code they cite completely, and they keep sending follow-up letters threatening grant funds and still citing the same U.S. code.
So how many of these do you have then?
At least 2. and again, press release goes out first and then I get the letter.
What is a burn grant, by the way?
It's a name for a federal grant that's used in Seattle, King County in community development.
And have you talked to other counties and other people that are getting similar types of letters? Is this happening across the country?
Across the country.
Yeah.
City of Seattle and cities and counties across the country are receiving similar letters.
And is this also related to, Seattle calls itself, as I've noted, a sanctuary city. King County, I don't know that it calls itself that, but is it related all to that?
The administration would say yes, but then they don't cite those designations. They cite a particular U.S. code that all of those jurisdictions comply with.
Yeah.
So it's bullying and bait and switch.
Kind of confusing there too, as well. Yeah, Adriana, one of the things I know that you are involved with the community is also that emergency planning that they might need to do. As we have witnessed, the administration, through its zero tolerance policy, had also acted to stop those people coming at the border and then separating families. Supposedly they have backed off on that, although they're still looking to back the policy. The emergency planning that you do, tell me about that, and is that really aimed at preparing families?
Yes, we are providing emergency safety planning for undocumented families that face at risk of being detained or deported. Through this service, we assist families in completing the forms in which they designate a child giver for their children in case they are untimely detained or deported. And we also guide them on how to protect the assets they have acquired in the U.S. in case they face detention or deportation.
And is this a process that families that they know about, that they can come to you to try to have some planning set forth?
Yes, we're promoting right now the service, but we have to say that the community we serve is facing a lot of fear, and we have seen a drop off in the attendance of the people we used to serve. So now many people are making use of this service, although we are providing it on a permanent basis.
So the zero tolerance policy is probably having an effect in that it is scaring a lot of people to come in and to do this stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of some of the work the council has done. Beginning in 2017, we established the Resilience Fund, investing in the immigrant and refugee community, and did so through a fund at the Seattle Foundation. So it wasn't just the county's investment, but we could of $1 million, but we could leverage additional contributions from other jurisdictions, other individuals and foundations. And so did that through the Seattle Foundation and invested in legal defense and capacity building for local organizations like El Centro already serving immigrants and refugees in our community.
What do you tell
recognizing that need?
You know that there are people out there that don't agree with this, and they're saying, why is the county doing this, particularly if they're helping people that might not be here legally? What do you say to them?
Like I've made reference to, we're all stronger when people are safe talking to law enforcement, talking to public health, interacting with their local government. Whether you're seeking immunizations from public health or reporting a crime or being a witness, it makes our community stronger if you participate. And to not participate weakens us as a community.
Is there that kind of fear? As you mentioned, you have seen some drop off in the emergency planning part of things, but are you hearing this, that people do not want to go to the doctor or go to the police if they know of a crime or some type of incident?
Yes, we have seen that people are facing anxiety, and they are also start to isolating, and that's our main concern, because now people have stopped obtaining medical services, have stopped participating in the educational activities of their children. And this is all because they think that they will be approached by immigration officers anytime, anywhere.
And I know that you also work to try to provide explanation of their rights. So tell me about that.
Yes, we're providing Know Your Rights workshops for immigrants. In these workshops, we give them information on which are the rights in case they are approached by immigration officials. And we are also trying to empower them in their civic process.
Yeah. And are they responding, or has there been a drop-off in that as well?
Right now, at the beginning, we were trying to host these workshops at El Centro, but we have seen that it is better if we start going to the community. So now we are carrying out these workshops in a building complex, at schools, or places where it is easier for people to displace. Because if there are longer distance or places that are unknown for them, we have seen that they are not going to these places.
So you're trying to make it more accessible by going out into the community.
Exactly.
To make a difference there.
Yes.
How do you view these times? I mean, this is, it's unpredictable, it's uncertain, and I think a lot of people are scared.
It is really troubling, and I understand where that fear comes from. In fact, I think it's in many ways intended by the federal administration, their actions to instill that fear. And so that's why I think it's more important than ever for local governments to step up and be that bright blue hope, if you will, and assurance to everybody in our communities that we will stand with them. We'll invest in legal defense, know your rights training, that they are safe in coming to seek local government services, and that they're valuable members of our community.
So when the federal government, though, comes through and sends you these letters, I mean, is there a chance that the county could lose funding on some of these things? Is that possible?
We are complying with federal law, so they would have no basis to withhold our funds. But I also promise you that if the federal government actually tried to withhold funds, fine. We would continue doing what we would do. I'm not going to change county policy, county practice, because of a threat from the federal government.
So the county would handle it themselves if need be.
Yes.
And even if they were to lose.
First of all, we're
funds.
complying with federal code,
Right.
federal law.
Yeah.
And secondly, if unjustly they were to try to withhold federal funds for what they believe is a false allegation of violating federal law, we would continue doing what we're doing.
What do you want your community to know about what's happening these days, and what do you want to reach out and tell them as far as how they can be helped?
I think the most important thing is that they need to be aware that regardless of their immigration status, they still have rights. And they have rights to education, to healthcare services, to due process in case they are detained or deported, and they need to be aware of that, regardless of their immigration status. And I also want them to know that there are a lot of support networks here in King County and the city of Seattle. A lot of people are mobilizing to help immigrant communities, so they just need to access the services and the great initiatives that are emerging in the city and the county.
What are you hearing personally from some of the people? I would imagine you become attached to some of them as you get to know them and try to understand their situation.
Well, they are in a very complex situations because even though they have been living here for 10 years, they're feeling that they need to go away to their country of origin, but they are not. They are also facing very hard situations if they go back there. So they are like in a very hard situation. They don't know what to do, and they are facing fear.
Yeah. Often we hear that many of the people are coming from Mexico, but the truth is that many people are coming from Central America that are coming here.
Yes, from many other countries like Honduras, Guatemala. And actually, and in the last years, we have seen an increase of people coming from South America, particularly from Venezuela, which is completely new, because most of the people that were here in the state of Washington came from Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador.
And are you hearing concerns not only from people that may not be documented, but people who are that are immigrants that have green cards or that are naturalized citizens as well?
Yes, that's also a really big concern right now, particularly because right now anyone is certain about their situation because things are changing dramatically so right now you have rights, but tomorrow you don't know if you have those same rights.
Yeah. This is what's most confusing, I suppose, I think, for a lot of people out there. Even if you are a citizen or have become a citizen, suddenly you feel like you're under the microscope and that you're a target.
In the last week, we've heard that the federal government is willing to entertain repealing the citizenship of naturalized citizens. I spent the 4th of July at the naturalization ceremony at the Seattle Center, where 498 people from 83 countries became citizens of the United States. And that has not historically been anything that was revoked. And to think that the federal administration, the Trump administration, would instill that fear further into immigrant and refugee communities, into our local communities. Again, almost one in 4 residents of King County is foreign born. So we're talking about our friends, our neighbors, our family members.
Yeah. And you hear that from these folks daily?
Daily.
Yeah.
And the main concern is that any type of measure will affect the families. They fear that they will be separated from their families, from their children.
So, to the community out there, particularly when it comes to emergency planning, what would you tell them?
I would recommend them to be prepared. We definitely need to take protective measures in advance because we don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. And right now we are all at risk of being detained or deported, of being affected by the federal administration policies. So we need to be prepared and we need to plan what we would do in case we face any of these situations.
Particularly if you have children.
Particularly.
And who you might have those children go to.
Exactly. Yeah. It is important to define who will take care of your children. It is important to have an attorney that might attend your case in case you face any of these situations. It is important to have all the documents of your children in advance in a safe place, to get their medical records, their school records, their passports in case they are American citizens, their American passport, in case they are citizens from any other country, to take the passports of these countries.
Yeah. How often do you do this, the emergency planning?
We provide the service every day, from Monday to Friday, and the first and third Saturday of each month.
Do you have workshops then to do that, or do you just, that's where people can come in?
They need to call in advance to set an appointment, and we provide the service completely free.
Yeah, and all of this is at El Centro, and then going out into the community as well. Mm-hmm. That's right. And how many people do you figure that you're seeing now?
We are seeing around 2 to 4 families each week. Yeah.
And is that dropped off because of the fear?
Yes.
Normally, what would you be seeing?
We have a capacity of attending around 20 to 25 families per week.
Yeah. Wow, that's really a big drop-off.
Yes.
Then. Final words here, I guess. Councilman, as we continue to deal with all of this, there seems to be also so much misinformation as well as confusion. And so what do you say to the community?
I would remind people in King County that they're welcome here, we value their presence, and we're glad they're here. And I think that's the strongest message I can underlay today, is that your local government is your partner, we're glad you're here, and we celebrate you.
Yeah. And Adriana, your words out to the community and to people that maybe don't even know about this.
So I will just say that they need to know that they still have rights, that here people are standing for them, that we have a very strong network of support, but also I will remind them to be prepared and to take advantage of all the services, not only El Centro de la Raza, but also other nonprofits are providing.
But they can call El Centro, they can get a hold of you and try to...
Exactly. We're also providing legal clinics the second Wednesday of each month. They're completely free, and people can seek advice from any type of lawyer, and particularly immigration lawyers.
Right. Well, I hope that people do hear that message from you. It's really why we're here doing this program, to let people know in the community that there are services available, there are organizations that might be able to help them out. Thank you both for your time. I really appreciate it and the information. Very good. All right.
Thank you, Enrique.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us on this edition of King County Connects. Visit us online at kingcounty.gov/KCTV. I'm Enrique Cerna, and we will see you next time.